The needle was inches from her neck when Diana made a choice that would change everything. She ran, not to her car, not to security, but straight into the arms of a man whose eyes promised violence. "Please," she whispered, trembling against his chest. "Pretend you know me." His response was a single word that shattered her world. "Always." Welcome to Stories by Jason. If you're settled in and ready for a good story, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I've got another exciting story coming your way tomorrow, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for the love and support. You're truly appreciated, and I'm so grateful to have you here with me. The rain turned the hospital parking lot into a mirror of sodium lights and shadows. Diana Lukeman's sneakers splashed through puddles as she fumbled for her car keys, her double shift dragging at her bones like chains. 16 hours on her feet. 4 code blues. One patient who died holding her hand because no family had come. She was so tired she could taste copper at the back of her throat. The keys slipped. Metal clinked against wet asphalt, and Diana's heart stopped. Diana. That voice. God, that voice. 2 years of freedom, and it could still turn her blood to ice. She spun around. Marcus stood 20 feet away, backlit by the emergency room entrance. He looked exactly the same. Sandy hair, boyish face, that smile that had once made her feel special and now made her skin crawl. But it was what he held in his right hand that made her vision tunnel. A syringe. "I just want to talk," Marcus said, taking a step forward. The overhead light caught the liquid inside the syringe, clear, precise, 50 milliliters. Diana's nursing brain kicked in automatically. Enough midazolam and propofol to drop a 200-pound man. Enough to put her under for hours. "Stay away from me." Her voice cracked. She bent to grab her keys, but her fingers wouldn't cooperate. They shook so violently she could barely close them around the metal. "You won't return my calls. You blocked my number. What else was I supposed to do?" Marcus's tone was reasonable, hurt even. That was his gift, making his madness sound like logic. "I love you, Diana. We can work through this. Just come sit in my car for a few minutes. Just talk to me." "I have a restraining order." "Piece of paper." He took another step. "I'm a pharmaceutical rep, baby. I know every security guard in this hospital. You think they're going to stop me, for you?" Diana's keys bit into her palm. She was a quarter mile from the main building, parked in the overflow lot because she'd arrived late for her shift. No cameras here. No witnesses. Just rain and darkness and Marcus closing the distance between them. Her car was 15 feet away. He was 12 feet away and moving faster. She ran. Not toward her car. Not toward the distant lights of the ER. Toward the only other sign of life in this corner of the lot. A black Mercedes S-Class idling near the executive entrance, and the 3 men standing beside it. Diana's brain screamed that this was insane. The men looked dangerous. The one in the center especially, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. A scar bisected his left eyebrow, pale and vicious against his skin. His companions were clearly security, hands resting near concealed weapons, eyes scanning the lot with professional paranoia. These were not safe people. But neither was Marcus. "Please," Diana didn't slow down. She crashed into the stranger's chest like a wave hitting a cliff, her hands fisting in his suit jacket, her face buried against his shirt. He smelled like sandalwood and gunpowder. His body went rigid with shock. "Please, pretend you know me. Please, there's a man." "Get your hands off her." Marcus's shout rang across the parking lot. Diana felt the stranger's muscles coil beneath her grip. One of his security guards moved, but the man in the center, the one Diana was clutching, raised a hand. The guard froze. "Please," Diana whispered again. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "He has a sedative. He's going to." "I know." The stranger's voice was deep, calm, and utterly cold. His hand came up to rest against the back of Diana's head, holding her against his chest. "You're safe now." Those 3 words broke something inside her. Diana's knees buckled. She would have fallen if the stranger hadn't caught her, one arm sliding around her waist, supporting her weight like she was made of air. "Diana, who the hell is this?" Marcus had stopped 10 feet away, his face twisted with rage and confusion. "Get away from him right now." The stranger turned, positioning his body between Diana and Marcus. When he spoke, his voice carried the kind of authority that made trained killers snap to attention. "Walk away." "She's my girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend," Diana managed, her voice muffled against the stranger's shoulder. 2 years ex, restraining order, he's stalking me." "Walk away." The stranger's tone hadn't changed, but something in it made the hair on Diana's neck stand up. This was a man accustomed to being obeyed. This was a man who made people disappear. Marcus seemed to realize it too. His grip on the syringe tightened, knuckles going white, but he didn't advance. This isn't over, Diana. You can't just... Can't just what? The stranger tilted his head. Leave an abusive relationship, get a restraining order, refuse contact from someone who terrifies her. He paused. Or did you mean she can't just run to me for protection? The parking lot went silent, except for rain drumming on metal. Who are you? Marcus demanded. The stranger smiled. It was the most frightening expression Diana had ever seen on a human face. I'm the man she ran to instead of you. That should tell you everything you need to know about your chances. One of the security guards stepped forward, reaching into his jacket. Marcus's eyes went wide. He stumbled backward, the syringe still clutched in his hand like a talisman. This is assault, Marcus's voice pitched high. I'll press charges, You'll go home, the stranger said. You'll throw away that sedative you stole from the hospital pharmacy. Yes, I can see the inventory sticker, and you'll never come near Diana Lukeman again. Or I'll make sure your pharmaceutical license is revoked, your reputation is destroyed, and you spend the next 5 years explaining to federal investigators how you obtained Schedule IV-controlled substances without prescription. Marcus went pale. You can't. I can, I will. Leave now and we'll call it a misunderstanding. Stay, and tomorrow you'll wake up to find your entire life has been audited by people who don't believe in coincidences. The stranger's hand tightened protectively on Diana's waist. Your choice. You have 10 seconds. Marcus ran. Diana watched him go, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. She couldn't process what had just happened. Couldn't understand why this stranger had helped her, why he'd known exactly what to say, why his arms felt like the first safe place she'd been in years. Thank you, she breathed. I don't know how to. Look at me. Diana pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. They were dark, intelligent, and utterly unreadable. He studied her face with the intensity of someone memorizing a target. You're Diana Lukeman, he said quietly. ER nurse, 10 years experience, specialization in trauma care. Mother's name is Susan, 300,000 in student loans and medical debt. You drive a 2015 Honda Civic with a broken taillight you can't afford to replace. Diana's blood turned to ice water. How do you? You saved my life 4 hours ago. The world tilted. Diana stared at him, her mind racing back through the chaos of her shift. The gunshot victim wheeled in at 2 a.m., bleeding out from a severed femoral artery, the surgeon screaming for more hands. Diana's fingers deep in the wound, applying pressure while alarms shrieked and the man's heart stopped twice on the table. That was you. That was me. He released her slowly as if afraid she'd collapse without his support. I had my people find out who you were. I wanted to thank you properly. I was coming to find you when you... He glanced toward where Marcus had vanished. When you made that unnecessary. Diana's laugh came out broken. So you just happened to be here, right where I needed you. I don't believe in coincidences, Miss Lukeman. I believe in debts. He straightened his suit jacket, all business now. You saved my life. I'm going to return the favor. You just did. No, his expression was granite hard. What I just did was send away an amateur with delusions of control, but he'll come back. Men like that always do. They escalate. Next time it won't be sedatives, it'll be a knife or his hands around your throat. Or a fire at your apartment while you're sleeping. Diana's stomach turned over. You don't know that. I know exactly that. I've seen it 1,000 times. He pulled out a phone, typed something, then looked back at her. I'm going to make you an offer, Diana. I want you to think very carefully before you answer. What kind of offer? Protection, real protection. Not a restraining order that Marcus wipes his ass with. Not pepper spray that you'll drop when he surprises you in the dark. Me. He stepped closer, and Diana caught the scent of gunpowder again, mixed with something medicinal, antiseptic from the wound in his leg. My resources, my people, my word that Marcus will never touch you again. It sounded too good to be true. What's the catch? I need a doctor. Diana blinked. I'm not a doctor, I'm a nurse. You have better hands than most doctors. I saw your chart notes. You've done field amputations, emergency thoracotomies, procedures most ER nurses would never attempt. You think fast. You don't panic. His eyes held hers. And you already proved you'll fight to save my life even when it looks hopeless. I'd fight to save anyone's life. That's my job. Exactly. He pulled out a business card. Heavy cardstock, no company name, just a phone number embossed in silver. I exist in spaces where going to a hospital means dying or getting arrested. I need someone who can keep me and my people alive when normal medicine isn't an option. In exchange, I'll eliminate Marcus from your life, pay off your mother's medical bills, clear your student loans, and make sure you're never afraid to walk to your car again." Diana stared at the card. Her hands had stopped shaking, but her mind was spinning. "Who are you?" "My name is Jae-Hun Park. I run an organization that protects people the law won't touch, victims who fall through the cracks, people society forgets." His jaw tightened. "I'm not a good man, Diana. I've done things that would make you run screaming. But I pay my debts, I keep my word, and I never let harm come to people under my protection." "You're asking me to work for criminals." "I'm asking you to save lives. The fact that those lives exist outside the system doesn't make them worth less." He gestured to her scrubs, still stained with his blood. "4 hours ago, you didn't ask if I was a good person before you put your hands inside my leg. You just stopped the bleeding." He was right. Diana hated that he was right. "Think about it," Jae-Hun said, stepping back. "Call that number when you decide." "But Diana," he waited until she met his eyes. "Marcus took 2 years of your life. Don't let him take any more. Don't let fear make you small." He turned toward the Merceds. His guards fell into formation around him, and Diana realized how much danger she'd just been in. These men killed people. That was obvious in the way they moved, the bulges under their jackets, the practiced efficiency of their positioning. But they'd protected her. "Wait," Diana called out. Jae-Hun paused, looking back. "How did you know?" Diana asked. "About my mother, my debt, everything." His smile was sad. "I told you, I pay my debts. That means knowing exactly what currency matters most." He opened the car door. "The question is whether you're brave enough to let yourself be saved." The Mercedes pulled away, taillights disappearing into the rain. Diana stood alone in the parking lot, the business card heavy in her hand, her mind full of impossible choices. She looked at the blood on her scrubs, Jae-Hun's blood, which she'd kept inside his body through sheer determination and skill. She thought about Marcus's face when Jae-Hun had threatened him, the fear, the retreat. She thought about her mother's latest biopsy results, the ones that meant more chemo, more copays, more slow death by 1,000 medical bills. She thought about the weight she carried every single day, the fear, the debt, the exhaustion of just surviving. And she thought about 3 words: "You're safe now." Diana pulled out her phone. Her hands didn't shake anymore. She dialed the number on the card. Jae-Hun answered on the first ring. "I knew you'd call." "I have conditions," Diana said. "Name them." "I won't kill anyone. I won't help you hurt innocent people. And if I ever think you're using me to do more harm than good, I walk away. No matter what you've paid for." Silence, then, agreed. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow. I'll send a car for you at 6 p.m. Bring your medical bag and whatever questions you need answered." He paused. "And Diana, welcome to the family." The line went dead. Diana stood in the rain, still holding the phone to her ear, wondering if she'd just made a deal with the devil or an angel. Maybe both. Maybe it didn't matter. For the first time in 2 years, she wasn't afraid of the darkness in the parking lot. She walked to her car, got in, and drove home without checking her mirrors every 5 seconds. She slept that night without nightmares. And when the black Mercedes arrived at 6 p.m. the next evening, Diana climbed in without hesitation, ready to save lives in the shadows, ready to discover that safety sometimes comes wrapped in violence, and love sometimes grows in the spaces between right and wrong. This was the beginning of everything. The car that picked up Diana wasn't the Mercedes from the parking lot. It was a nondescript gray sedan with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. They drove for 40 minutes, leaving the city behind, until they reached a gated estate that looked like it belonged in a thriller film. Stone walls, security cameras, men with earpieces packing the perimeter. Diana's stomach churned. What had she agreed to? The sedan stopped in a circular driveway in front of a modern mansion, all glass and steel and clean lines. Before Diana could second-guess herself, the front door opened, and Jae-Hun appeared. He traded his suit for dark jeans and a black Henley that made him look younger, more human. The bandage on his leg was visible beneath the rolled-up pant leg. "How's the wound?" Diana asked as she climbed out, her medical bag clutched like a shield. "Healing, you did good work." He gestured toward the house. "Come inside, we need to talk about expectations." The interior was sparse but expensive. Hardwood floors, minimalist furniture, art that probably cost more than Diana's car. But what caught her attention was the room Jae-Hun led her to. A fully equipped medical suite, better stocked than some clinics Diana had worked in. "This is where you'll work," Jae-Hun said. "State-of-the-art equipment. Anything you need that's not here, tell me and I'll acquire it within 24 hours. Diana ran her hand over the examination table, the crash cart, the locked medication cabinet. How often will I be needed? It varies. Some weeks nothing, others, he shrugged. My people take risks, they get hurt. I need someone who can handle everything from gunshot wounds to chemical exposure without asking questions about how it happened. I need to know some things. Drug allergies, medical history. You'll have files on everyone who works for me, updated regularly. Jae-hun leaned against the wall, watching her explore the space. I meant what I said, Diana. I won't put you in a position where you have to hurt anyone. Your job is to heal, that's all. Diana turned to face him, and Marcus is being handled as we speak. By tomorrow, he'll have a visit from people who will make it very clear that approaching you again means consequences he can't imagine. By the end of the week, he'll also find himself under investigation for prescription fraud, which is real, by the way. My people found evidence he's been skimming opioids from his pharmaceutical company for 2 years. Diana's breath caught. You're going to have him arrested. I'm going to give the DEA enough rope to let him hang himself. Whether he goes to prison or just loses his career and reputation depends on how stupid he is. Jae-hun's expression was cold. Either way, he won't bother you again. You have my word. It was terrifying how good that felt. How much relief flooded through Diana at the idea of Marcus facing actual consequences, instead of just violating restraining orders with impunity. And my mother's medical bills. Paid in full as of this morning. I also contacted her oncologist and arranged for her to be transferred to Memorial Sloan Kettering, best cancer treatment in the country. She has an appointment next week. He pulled out his phone, showed Diana an email confirmation. Your student loans will be cleared by Friday. I'm having my lawyers handle the paperwork. Diana's knees went weak. She sat down hard on the examination table. Why are you doing this? I told you I pay my debts. This is more than a debt. Is it? Jae-hun moved closer, his dark eyes intense. You saved my life, Diana. Not just that night. You saved it when most people would have decided I wasn't worth saving. You saw a human being bleeding out and you fought for him. Do you know how rare that is? Diana thought about the way nurses sometimes moved slower when gang members came in. The way doctors made judgments about who deserved their best effort. She'd seen it. She'd hated it. She'd never participated in it. Everyone deserves to live, she said quietly. Exactly, that's why I want you here. Jae-hun sat beside her on the table, careful to keep distance between them. I built this organization to protect people who fall through the cracks, abuse victims who can't get restraining orders enforced, kids trapped in trafficking rings, witnesses too scared to testify. The law is supposed to protect them, but it doesn't, so I do. By breaking the law. By doing what works. He looked at her steadily. I'm not going to lie to you, Diana. Some of what we do is illegal, but none of it is immoral. We don't hurt innocents. We don't deal drugs or run guns or any of the shit people assume. We just level the playing field for people who can't fight back on their own. It was a pretty speech. Diana wanted to believe it. And what do you get out of it? Purpose? The word came out harsh. I was where they are once, powerless, terrified, betrayed by every system that was supposed to keep me safe. I clawed my way out of that hole and now I pull other people out too. Diana studied him. The scar through his eyebrow, the hardness in his jaw, the shadows in his eyes that spoke of violence survived and inflicted. What happened to you? Nothing I'm ready to talk about. But if you stay, if you become part of this, eventually you'll hear the whole story. He stood, putting professional distance between them again. For now, let's focus on the practical. You'll work here 3 evenings a week, more if there's an emergency. I'll pay you $200,000 a year plus cover all your living expenses. In 6 months, if you're still interested, I'll sponsor you through a nurse practitioner program so you can do more advanced procedures. $200,000. Diana made $60,000 at the hospital, and half of that went to debt payments. This is too much, she whispered. This is what you're worth. Jae-hun's voice was firm. You've been undervalued your entire career, Diana. People like you keep the medical system running and you're treated like expendable labor. Here, you won't be. Something broke open in Diana's chest. How long had it been since someone had seen her as valuable? Since someone had offered her something without demanding twice as much in return? I need to think. No, Jae-hun shook his head. Thinking is what got you stuck with Marcus for 2 years. Thinking is what made you accept poverty wages while drowning in debt. Just this once, Diana, act on instinct. What does your gut say? Her gut said she was standing in a medical suite that would let her save lives without insurance companies, and hospital bureaucracy getting in the way. Her gut said Jae-hun Park was dangerous, but he'd protected her when he didn't have to. Her gut said maybe, just maybe, this was the escape she'd been praying for. Okay, Diana said, I'm in. Jae-hun smiled, a real smile, not the terrifying one from the parking lot. It transformed his face, made him look younger, almost vulnerable. Good, let's go over the files. The next 3 months passed in a blur. Diana kept her hospital job, but started spending 3 nights a week at Jae-hun's estate, treating injuries that ranged from knife wounds to broken bones to burns that definitely came from chemical exposure. The people she treated were grateful, respectful, and terrified of Jae-hun, in a way that made Diana realize just how much power he wielded. But she also saw his kindness. The way he sat with a 17-year-old trafficking survivor until she stopped shaking. The way he personally delivered relocation money to a domestic violence victim and made sure she had a new identity. The way he never raised his voice, never made threats he didn't keep, and never let his people hurt anyone who didn't have it coming. Marcus disappeared from her life like smoke. The DEA investigation made the news. Pharmaceutical rep arrested for prescription fraud, facing 10 years in federal prison. Diana felt nothing but relief. Her mother's cancer responded to the treatment at Sloan Kettering. The tumors shrank. Susan Lukeman cried when she hugged Diana and said, I don't know what you did, baby, but thank you. Diana's student loans vanished. She bought a new car. She moved into a better apartment. For the first time in her adult life, she wasn't drowning. And she started falling in love. It happened slowly, then all at once. The way Jae-hun listened when she talked about her shift at the hospital. The way he brought her coffee exactly how she liked it, even though she'd never told him. The way he kept a chair in the medical suite that was just for her, with a heating pad because he'd noticed she had chronic back pain. The way he looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his entire life. You're starring, Diana said one evening, glancing up from stitching a guard's arm. Jae-hun didn't look away. He was leaning in the doorway, arms crossed, that unreadable expression on his face. You hum when you work. Did you know that? Diana felt heat rise to her cheeks. I do not. You do, always the same song, something classical. Bach, I think. Cello Suite No. 1. My mom used to play it. Diana tied off the suture, checked her work. You're still starring. I'm trying to figure you out. What's there to figure out? I'm an ER nurse who made a deal with a beautiful devil. Jae-hun's eyes flickered with something dangerous. You think I'm beautiful? Diana's hand stilled. The guard she was treating suddenly became very interested in the ceiling. The room felt smaller, charged with electricity that made her pulse race. I think you're terrifying, Diana said honestly. I think you could destroy lives with a phone call. I think people are right to fear you. She met his gaze. But yes, I think you're beautiful. Jae-hun pushed off the doorway, crossed the room in 3 strides. He stopped close enough that Diana could feel the heat radiating from his body, could see the pulse jumping in his throat. You're not afraid of me, he said quietly. Why? Because you're only terrifying to people who deserve it, to everyone else. Diana's voice dropped. To everyone else, your safety. Jae-hun's hand came up, cupped her jaw with surprising gentleness. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I'm going to kiss you now. If you don't want that, tell me to stop. Diana should have stopped him. Should have remembered the professional boundaries, the complicated power dynamics, the fact that falling for someone this dangerous was the definition of stupid. Instead, she leaned into his touch and whispered, don't stop. The kiss was earthquake-soft at first, tentative, testing, giving her room to pull away. But when Diana's hands fisted in his shirt and pulled him closer, Jae-hun made a sound low in his throat and kissed her like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth, the taste of her breath, the way she sighed when he tilted her head just right. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-hun rested his forehead against hers. This complicates things, he murmured. Diana laughed, slightly hysterical. This complicates everything. Worth it. She thought about the past 3 months, the way her life had transformed, the way she felt seen, valued, protected, the way Jae-hun had given her back her power. Worth it, she confirmed. Good, he kissed her again, softer this time. Because I've been falling for you since the moment you crashed into my chest in that parking lot. Diana's world tilted in the best possible way. For the first time in years, she let herself hope for a future that included love, safety, and joy. She should have known it was too good to last. Happiness always comes with a price. And Jae-hun Park's past was about to demand payment in full. Diana was restocking the medical suite when Jae-hun's phone rang. She'd learned to read his reactions over the past 6 months. The slight tension in his jaw meant business trouble. The way his eyes went flat meant violence was about to happen. But the expression that crossed his face when he looked at the caller ID was something Diana had never seen before. Pure, undiluted shock. "I need to take this," he said, his voice strange. He stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. Diana tried not to eavesdrop, failed completely. "That's not possible." Jae-hun's voice was muffled but sharp. Silence. Then, "How long?" More silence. "Does he know about me?" A long pause. "I'll be there in an hour." When Jae-hun came back in, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. His hands were shaking, hands that never shook, even when he was being stitched up without anesthesia. "What's wrong?" Diana abandoned the supply cabinet, moving to his side. "I need to go to St. Vincent's Hospital. There's someone," his voice cracked. "Someone I thought was gone." Diana's stomach dropped. "Someone you loved." Jae-hun's eyes met hers, full of pain and guilt and something that looked like grief. "Her name is Seo-yan. We were together for 3 years. She left me 6 years ago. Didn't say why, just disappeared." He swallowed hard. "I looked for her, spent a fortune trying to find her. Eventually I had to accept that she didn't want to be found. And now she's in the hospital. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. She's been in hospice care for 2 months." Jae-hun's jaw clenched. "She wants to see me, says there's something I need to know." Diana felt ice creep up her spine. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No, yes, I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair, the polished control he always projected shattering before her eyes. "Diana, I loved her. For years after she left, I couldn't breathe without wondering where she was, if she was safe, if she'd ever come back. And now she's dying." Diana took his hand, squeezed. "Go, whatever she needs to tell you, you deserve to hear it." "Will you wait for me?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Diana understood what he was really asking. "Will you still be here when I come back? Will this change us?" "I'll be here," she promised. Jae-hun kissed her forehead, then left. Diana spent the next 3 hours trying to work, trying to distract herself, trying not to imagine the woman Jae-hun had loved enough to search for even after she'd abandoned him, trying not to feel the sharp edge of jealousy cutting into her chest. When Jae-hun finally returned, he wasn't alone. He was carrying a sleeping child. A little boy, maybe 6 years old, with Jae-hun's dark hair and sharp cheekbones. The resemblance was undeniable. Diana's world stopped spinning. "Diana," Jae-hun said quietly, his eyes were red. "This is Minjun, he's my son." The room tilted. Diana gripped the edge of the examination table to keep from swaying. "Your son." Seo-yan was pregnant when she left. She never told me. She raised him alone for 6 years and now, his voice broke. "Now she's dying and she wants me to take him." Diana couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The child stirred in Jae-hun's arms, made a small sound, and Diana's heart cracked open. "Why didn't she tell you?" "Because I was building this organization. Because she knew the kind of danger I lived in, and she didn't want that for him." Jae-hun looked at the boy in his arms with an expression of wonder and devastation. "She thought she was protecting him by keeping him away from me. But now she has weeks left, maybe less, and she can't leave him alone." "Where is she now?" "Hospice. I brought Minjun here because he was scared and she needed to rest, and Jae-hun's control finally shattered. "I don't know how to do this, Diana. I don't know how to be a father." Diana moved forward on instinct, wrapped her arms around both of them, Jae-hun and the small boy who just lost his whole world. "You'll learn. We'll figure it out." Jae-hun's eyes met hers, desperate and hopeful. Diana looked at Minjun's sleeping face, thought about how his mother was dying, thought about how Jae-hun's world had just been turned inside out, thought about the life they'd been building together, fragile, new, full of possibility. And she made a choice. She confirmed, "If you want me here." "I need you here." Jae-hun's free arm came around her waist, pulling her close. "I can't do this without you." That should have been the moment Diana felt secure, needed, essential. Instead, she felt the first whisper of doubt. Because loving someone is easy. Becoming a mother to a traumatized child whose real mother is dying, that's something else entirely. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Minjun was terrified. He clung to Jae-hun, refused to let Diana near him, woke up screaming from nightmares. Jae-hun tried to balance running his organization with being present for his son, and Diana watched him fracture under the pressure. She also met Seo-yan. The woman was ethereal even in her dying, delicate features, gentle voice, eyes full of regret and love when she looked at Jae-hun. Diana sat with her one afternoon while Jae-hun took Minjun to the park, and Seo-yan studied her with disturbing intensity. "You love him," Seo-yan said, "not a question." "Yes," Diana saw no point in lying. "Good, he needs someone who loves him." Seo-yan's smile was sad. "I'm sorry I took 6 years from him. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was wrong." "You were protecting your child." "I was afraid. There's a difference." Seo-yan's hand, frail and bruised from IV lines, reached out to grip Diana's. "I'm going to ask you something unfair, something that might hurt you, but I'm dying, so I'm going to be selfish." Diana's chest tightened. "What is it?" "Take care of Minjun, not because Jae-hun asks you to, not out of duty or obligation, but because he's a little boy who's about to lose his mother and he needs someone who chooses to love him." Seo-yan's eyes filled with tears. "Can you do that?" Diana thought about the last 2 weeks, the way Minjun flinched from her touch, the way he looked at her like she was trying to replace his mother, the way loving Jae-hun had become infinitely more complicated. "I'll try," Diana said honestly. "I can't promise I'll be good at it, but I'll try." "That's all anyone can do." Seo-yan released her hand, exhaustion creeping across her face. "Jae-hun loves you, you know. He told me. Said you saved his life in more ways than one." Diana's throat closed. "He loved you too." "He loved who I was. He loves who you are." Seo-yan's smile turned knowing. "There's a difference." 3 days later, Seo-yan slipped into a coma. Jae-hun spent every moment at her bedside, holding her hand, talking to her, telling her about the life he'd built and the son she'd given him. Minjun sat in Jae-hun's lap, clutching his father's shirt, silent and hollow-eyed. Diana stood in the doorway, watching the family that could have been, and felt herself becoming the outsider. When Seo-yan died 2 days later, Jae-hun's grief was absolute. He didn't cry, just went very still and quiet, like someone had turned off a light inside him. Minjun screamed himself hoarse, and it took 3 adults to hold him while he raged against the unfairness of the universe. Diana tried to help, tried to be present, tried to be what they needed. But Minjun wouldn't let her close. Every time she reached for him, he pulled away. Every time she tried to comfort him, he asked for his real mom. And Jae-hun was drowning in his own grief, trying to be strong for Minjun while falling apart inside. The funeral was small, beautiful, devastating. Diana stood beside Jae-hun, her hand in his, while Minjun clutched his father's other hand and stared at the coffin with eyes too old for his face. Afterward, back at the estate, Diana found Jae-hun in his office, staring at photos of Seo-yan and Minjun. Photos from the 6 years he'd missed. "I should have looked harder," Jae-hun said. "I should have found them." "You tried." "She didn't want to be found. She was scared. I made her scared. What kind of life was I offering? Violence and danger and..." His voice broke. "She was right to leave. She was right to keep Minjun safe." Diana's heart fractured. "You're not a monster, Jae-hun." "Aren't I?" He finally looked at her and his eyes were empty. "I've killed people, Diana, not in self-defense, not accidentally. I've given orders that ended lives. What kind of father does that make me? What kind of man? The kind who protects people, the kind who pays his debts, the kind who loved a woman enough to search for her for years." Diana moved closer, knelt beside his chair. "The kind who's terrified of failing his son but shows up anyway." Jae-hun's hand came up to cup her face. "I don't deserve you." "You don't get to decide that, I do." Diana leaned into his touch. "I'm not going anywhere." But even as she said it, she felt the distance growing. Because Minjun needed his father in ways Diana couldn't compete with. Because Jae-hun was drowning in grief and guilt. Because loving someone sometimes means making room for other people, other needs, other priorities. Diana tried. God, she tried. She learned to cook Minjun's favorite foods, even though he refused to eat them when she made them. She read him bedtime stories he ignored. She sat quietly in the same room, just being present, while he clung to Jae-hun and pretended she didn't exist. And slowly, Diana felt herself becoming invisible. Jae-hun was consumed with being a father. His organization ran itself while he focused on Minjun's therapy appointments, school enrollment, learning to braid hair for the first time. Diana watched him transform from a dangerous, controlled man into someone soft and desperate and terrified of doing wrong. She loved him more for it. She also felt herself losing him. 2 months after Seo-yan's death, Diana made her decision. She waited until Minjun was asleep, then found Jae-hun in the living room, staring at nothing. "We need to talk," she said. Jae-hun looked up and there was fear in his eyes. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't say what you're about to say. Please, Diana, I can't lose you too." Diana's vision blurred. You're not losing me. You never had me to lose. You had Seo Yan. You had 6 years stolen from you. You have a son who needs you more than I ever could. That's not true. It is. Diana sat beside him, took his hand. You're a father now, Jae-hun. That comes first. That should come first. And Minjun, her voice cracked. Minjun looks at me like I'm the enemy, like I'm trying to replace his mother. I can't do that to him. I can't make him choose between loving his dead mom and accepting me. He'll come around. He just needs time. How much time? Months? Years? Diana shook her head. And what happens to us while we wait? We become resentful. You become torn between your son and me. Minjun grows up thinking love is a competition. She squeezed his hand. I won't do that to him, or to you. So what? You're just leaving. I'm giving you space to be the father he needs, without distractions, without complications. Diana's tears finally fell. I love you, Jae-hun. That's why I'm doing this, because sometimes love means stepping back. Jae-hun pulled her clothes, buried his face in her hair. I don't want to step back. I want you here. I want us to be a family. We can't be a family while Minjun sees me as a threat, and I can't stay and watch you tear yourself apart trying to make everyone happy. Diana pulled away, memorized his face. So I'm going to go. I'm going to give you time to heal, to bond with your son, to figure out who you are as a father. And maybe someday when he's ready, we can try again. Diana. This isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. She stood, walked to the door. Take care of him, Jae-hun. He needs you more than anything. I need you. Diana looked back one last time. Then prove it. Be the father he deserves. Show him that love doesn't mean choosing. Show him that people can stay. She left, walked out of the estate, got into her car, and drove away from the man she loved and the life she'd started to build. It felt like dying. But Diana told herself it was the right thing. The noble thing. The sacrifice that love sometimes demands. She was wrong. So catastrophically, dangerously wrong. And it would take a child's near death and a dying woman's final lesson to show her the truth. Sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is leave. Diana lasted 6 weeks. 6 weeks of going to work, coming home to her empty apartment, and pretending she hadn't left her heart in a mansion with a man and a little boy. 6 weeks of telling herself she'd done the right thing, the selfless thing, even as she felt herself hollowing out. She didn't contact Jae-hun. He didn't contact her either, and that hurt more than Diana wanted to admit. Then at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, her phone rang. Diana, Jae-hun's voice was wrecked. I need you, Minjun. He ran away. We found him, but he's hurt. He won't let the hospital doctors touch him. He's asking for you. Diana's blood turned to ice. How bad? Fractured arm, possible concussion. He fell trying to climb down from the roof. Jae-hun's voice cracked. Please, he's terrified and he won't stop crying and I don't know what to do. I'm on my way. Diana broke every speed limit getting to the hospital. She found Jae-hun in the pediatric ER, looking like he hadn't slept in days, holding a screaming, thrashing Minjun who was fighting off every nurse who came near. Minjun, Diana said quietly, slipping into nurse mode. It's Diana, I'm here. The little boy's head whipped around. His face was tear-streaked and swollen, one eye already bruising. Diana, you came back. Of course I came back. Your dad said you needed me. She moved closer slowly, carefully. Can I look at your arm, sweetheart? I promise I'll be gentle. Minjun's face crumpled. I thought you left because you didn't want me. Diana's heart shattered. She knelt down to his level, ignoring Jae-hun's sharp intake of breath. Minjun, I left because I thought you needed space with your dad. I thought I was in the way. I never, ever stopped wanting to be here. Everyone leaves, Minjun sobbed. My mom left, you left. Everyone always leaves. I'm so sorry, Diana's tears matched his. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I thought leaving was the right thing, but I was wrong. Don't leave again. Minjun reached for her with his good arm and Diana caught him carefully, mindful of his injuries. Please don't leave. I won't, I promise. Diana looked up at Jae-hun over Minjun's head. His eyes were wet, his expression shattered with relief and pain. I'm not going anywhere. She spent the next 3 hours in Minjun's hospital room, setting his arm, monitoring his concussion, and holding him while he finally let himself cry for everything he'd lost. Jae-hun sat on the other side of the bed, his hand resting on his son's back, his eyes never leaving Diana's face. When Minjun finally fell asleep, exhausted from pain and emotion, Diana and Jae-hun stepped into the hallway. Why did he run away? Diana asked quietly. He heard me crying. Jae-hun's voice was raw. 2 nights ago I broke down, just completely fell apart. I've been trying so hard to be strong for him, to be what he needs, but I was failing at everything, and I missed you so much I couldn't breathe, and I just—" He swallowed hard. "I just cracked. And Minjun heard me. He thought it was his fault. He thought I was sad because of him. Jae-hun. He said he was going to run away so I could be happy again, so I could have you back without him in the way." Jae-hun's tears finally fell. "He was trying to sacrifice himself for me. 6 years old, and he was trying to fix my broken heart by removing himself from the equation." Diana felt like she'd been punched in the chest. Oh God. "I did that. I made him think he had to choose. That love was a limited resource. That someone had to lose." Jae-hun gripped her shoulders. "You were right to leave. Not because it was the noble thing, but because I needed to see how badly I was failing. How I was teaching him that love means sacrifice instead of expansion. I was wrong to leave." Diana's voice was fierce. "I thought stepping back was selfless, but all I did was teach him that people who love him will disappear, that he's not worth fighting for." They stood in the hallway, both of them crying, both of them realizing how badly they'd misunderstood what love required. "I don't know how to fix this," Jae-hun said. "We fix it together. We stay, we fight. We show Minjun that love doesn't mean choosing, it means choosing to make room for everyone." Diana reached up, cupped his face. "I love you, I love him, and I'm done pretending that leaving is the same as strength." Jae-hun kissed her then, desperate and grateful and full of promise. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "He needs you," Jae-hun whispered. "I need you. We're better together than we ever could be apart." "Then let's be together, all three of us." They went back into the hospital room. Minjun was awake, watching the door like he'd been waiting for them to disappear. Diana sat on the edge of his bed. "Minjun, I need to tell you something important. Are you listening?" The little boy nodded. "Your mom loved you more than anything in the world. She made choices she thought would keep you safe, even when they hurt her. Do you understand?" Another nod. "I'm not trying to be your mom. Nobody could replace her, but I want to be someone who loves you and takes care of you and is here when you need me. Your dad loves you, I love you, and there's room in this family for all of us, plus all the love you still have for your mom." Diana took his small hand. "Love doesn't run out, Minjun. It grows. The more people you love, the bigger your heart gets. Even if my mom is gone. Especially because your mom is gone. She's not here to love you anymore, but the love you have for her doesn't disappear. It stays right here." Diana touched his chest over his heart. "And now you have more people who love you too, not instead of her, in addition to her." Minjun's eyes were huge. "You really love me." "So much," Diana said honestly. "Even when I left, I loved you. I just didn't know how to show it." "And you won't leave again." Diana looked at Jae-hun, who was watching them with an expression that made her breath catch. "Not unless you tell me to go, and even then, I'd probably stick around and be annoying." Minjun's laugh was watery but real. "Can you stay here tonight?" "Absolutely." They fell asleep in Minjun's hospital room. Diana in the chair beside his bed, Jae-hun on the fold-out couch, Minjun holding both their hands. When Diana woke up a few hours later, it was to find another woman sitting in the corner of the room. For one heart-stopping moment, Diana thought she was hallucinating. Then she recognized the face from photos. Seo Yan, looking pale and translucent in the pre-dawn light. Diana's rational mind knew this was impossible. Seo Yan was dead. But her nurse's instinct kept her still, quiet, watching. Seo Yan smiled sadly. "You did well tonight." Diana's throat closed. "I'm dreaming." "Probably, or I'm a figment of your guilt. Does it matter?" Seo Yan looked at her son, sleeping peacefully. "I was wrong about so many things. I thought protecting Minjun meant keeping him away from complexity, from danger, from love that looked different than what I could give him. You were trying to keep him safe. I was trying to keep him simple, but life isn't simple. Love isn't simple." Seo Yan's eyes met Diana's. "I told you to take care of him. I should have told you to love him, to stay even when it's hard, to show him that family isn't about blood, it's about choice." Diana's tears fell silently. "I don't know if I can do this. What if I fail him?" "You already did fail him, you left." Seo Yan's voice was gentle. "But failure isn't the end. Staying after you failed, that's where real love lives. Showing up even when you've made mistakes. Choosing to try again even when you're terrified. What if he needs more than I can give? Then you'll find more. That's what love does. It expands us beyond what we thought possible." Seo Yan stood, moved to her son's bedside. She reached out as if to touch his hair, and her hand passed through him like smoke. "Love him for me. But more than that, love him for himself. For who he is, not who he lost." I will, Diana whispered. And Diana, Xiao Yan looked back one last time. Thank you for coming back, for showing him that people can stay. When Diana blinked, Xiao Yan was gone. Probably a dream, probably exhaustion and emotion playing tricks. But the message remained, stay, fight, love. Diana reached over and took Jae Hun's hand. He woke instantly, years of danger making him a light sleeper. I'm sorry, Diana said, for leaving, for thinking sacrifice was the same as strength. Jae Hun kissed her knuckles. I'm sorry for letting you, for not fighting harder to show you that we needed you. What do we do now? We start over, we build a family, we teach Minjun that love is big enough for everyone. Jae Hun's smile was exhausted but genuine, and we stop trying to be perfect, we just try to be present. Over the next 6 months, they did exactly that. Diana moved back into the estate, into Jae Hun's room, into Minjun's life. It wasn't easy. There were tantrums and setbacks and nights when Minjun woke up screaming for his mother. There were moments when Diana felt like she was drowning, moments when she questioned whether she was enough. But she stayed. She learned Minjun's tells, the way he got quiet before a meltdown, the way he needed physical touch when he was scared, the way he tested boundaries to make sure people wouldn't leave. She learned to cook his favorite foods and to sit with him during nightmares and to be patient when he regressed. She also learned to let Jae Hun parent without stepping in, to give them space for their father-son bond, while also carving out her own relationship with Minjun. And slowly, incredibly, they became a family. Minjun started calling her Diana Mom. Not replacement, just Diana Mom, the woman who chose to love him. Diana finished her nurse practitioner program with Jae Hun's support. She opened a free clinic in an underserved neighborhood, using the skills he'd helped her develop to save lives legally, in the light. Her mother went into remission. Susan Lukeman met Minjun and fell in love with her unexpected grandson. She taught him to bake, and he taught her Korean phrases he remembered from Xiao Yan. Marcus went to prison. Diana didn't think about him anymore. And one evening, a year after Minjun's accident, Jae Hun took them both to the park where Xiao Yan used to take Minjun when he was small. I want to ask you both something, Jae Hun said. He knelt down to Minjun's level first. Minjun, how would you feel if I asked Diana to marry us, to officially be part of our family? Minjun's eyes went wide. Really, she'd be my stepmom. She'd be whatever you need her to be. But yes, legally she'd be your stepmother. Minjun threw his arms around Diana's legs. Yes, ask her. Diana was crying before Jae Hun even stood up. He pulled out a small box, opened it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. Diana Lukeman, Jae Hun said, you saved my life in an ER. You saved it again in a parking lot. And you keep saving it every day by choosing to stay, choosing to love us, choosing to believe that we're worth the complexity. He took her hand. Will you marry me? Will you marry us? Diana looked at Jae Hun, at the man who'd protected her when she was running, who'd given her purpose and safety and love. She looked at Minjun, the little boy who taught her that love means staying even when it's hard. Yes, she said, to both of you always yes. They got married 3 months later in a small ceremony with Minjun as the ring bearer, and a photo of Xiao Yan on the altar, because she was part of their story too. Diana never forgot that night in the hospital when Xiao Yan, dream or ghost or guilt, had given her permission to love without competing, to stay without replacing, to build a family that honored the past while embracing the future. 2 years later, Diana stood in her clinic, treating a young woman with a black eye and a restraining order that didn't work. I can help you, Diana said gently. She pulled out a card, the same kind Jae Hun had given her once in a rainy parking lot. Call this number, tell them Diana sent you, they'll keep you safe. The woman looked at the card with desperate hope. Who are they? Diana smiled. People who believe everyone deserves protection, everyone deserves love, everyone deserves a second chance. That night Diana came home to find Jae Hun and Minjun building a blanket fort in the living room. Minjun ran to her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Diana Mom, come help us, Dad is doing it wrong. I am not doing it wrong. You put the blanket on backward. Diana laughed, kicked off her shoes and climbed into the fort. Jae Hun pulled her close, kissed her temple while Minjun arranged pillows with serious concentration. This was her life now. Messy, complicated, full of love that had been earned through staying, through choosing, through believing that families are built not born. She'd run once, terrified and desperate, into a dangerous stranger's arms. She'd stayed because staying was the bravest thing she'd ever done. And she'd learned that sometimes the most dangerous choice isn't running into the unknown. It's believing you deserve to be loved, and making space for that love to grow, expand, and encompass everyone who needs it, including yourself. Epilogue 3 years later. Diana stood at Seo Yan's grave with Minjun, who was 9 now and growing so fast it made her heart hurt. They came here every month, bringing flowers and stories. I got an A on my science project, Minjun told the headstone. Diana Mom helped me with the volcano. Dad said it was the best eruption he'd ever seen. Diana squeezed his shoulder. Your mom would be so proud of you. I know. Minjun looked up at her with eyes that were learning to hold both grief and joy. But you're proud of me too, right? So proud I could burst. Good, he tucked his hand into hers. Come on, Dad's making dinner and he'll burn it if we're not there to supervise. They walked back to the car where Jae-hun was waiting. He'd stepped back from the dangerous parts of his organization, focusing instead on the protective services and legitimate businesses. He still scared people who needed scaring, but now he came home for dinner every night, helped with homework, and attended every school event like his presence could protect Minjun from all the world's dangers. Ready? Jae-hun asked, opening the door for them. Ready, Diana and Minjun said in unison. As they drove home to the house they'd bought together away from the estate, somewhere that felt like theirs, Diana thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, terrified, running, desperate enough to throw herself at a stranger. She'd been saved that night. But the real salvation had come from learning to stay. From choosing love even when it was complicated. From understanding that family isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Her phone buzzed. A text from the clinic, another woman needing help, another person who'd slipped through the cracks. Diana smiled. She knew exactly who to call. Because everyone deserved what she'd found. Safety that came from being seen, love that grew through choosing, and a family built not on convenience but on courage. Love you both, Diana said quietly as Jae-hun pulled into their driveway. Love you too, Diana Mom, Minjun said, already unbuckling to race inside. Jae-hun leaned over, kissed her softly. Thank you. For what? For staying, for teaching us that love doesn't mean sacrifice, it means showing up. His eyes held hers. For being brave enough to come back. Diana kissed him again, deeper this time. Best decision I ever made. They went inside together, all 3 of them, to burn dinner and laugh about it, to do homework at the kitchen table, to be imperfect and present and exactly where they belonged. This was love. Not the running, not the saving, not the dramatic rescue in a rain-soaked parking lot. But the staying, the choosing, the expanding, the daily decision to be a family, no matter how messy, no matter how complicated, no matter how much courage it required. Diana had run once. She'd stayed forever. And that made all the difference. What would you have done in Diana's place? When everything in you screams to protect yourself, to play it safe, to avoid the complicated mess of loving someone else's child, would you have had the courage to come back? To admit you were wrong? To stay even when every instinct told you to run? This story hits different because we've all been there. Maybe not running from an abuser into a stranger's arms. Maybe not navigating the impossible terrain of loving a man with a dying ex and a traumatized son. But we've all faced that moment where love asks us to be braver than we thought possible. Where staying feels more terrifying than leaving. Where choosing to expand instead of protect ourselves seems like the most dangerous thing we could do. Diana's story reminds us that real love isn't about the fairy tale beginning. It's about what happens when things get complicated. It's about the choice to stay when leaving would be easier. It's about learning that sacrifice isn't always noble, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is believe you deserve a seat at the table. If this story made you feel something, if Diana's journey from terror to love, to sacrifice to understanding hit you right in the chest, I need you to do something for me right now. Smash that like button if you believe everyone deserves a second chance at love, at family, at choosing courage over fear. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had to choose between walking away and staying through the mess? What did you choose? Drop, I stayed if you chose courage. Drop, I'm still learning if you're figuring it out. I read every single comment and your stories matter. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because this channel is dedicated to stories like Diana's. Stories about real people facing impossible choices. About justice that comes from courage. About love that grows when we're brave enough to make room for it. I've got more stories coming that will make you cry, make you think, and make you believe in the power of choosing to stay. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that leaving isn't always the answer, that staying can be the ultimate act of strength, that families are built by choice, not blood. You're not alone in this. Whatever you're facing, whatever impossible choice is staring you down, whatever fear is telling you to run, you're not alone. Join us, stay with us, let's choose courage together. Drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, be part of the community that believes everyone deserves a chance at the kind of love that says you're safe now and means it forever. What are you waiting for? Your story matters, your choice matters, you matter. Let's go, comment, like, subscribe, choose courage. I'll see you in the next one.